for my capstone, I use Unity, but I want to showcase what I learned in my course. So I try to make sure every game object only has one script, how it normally should be. So my objects either inherit from another class or has compositions. So all my objects in my game inherit from my interactable object class. That's how my player knows how to move to an object. The interactable object class has an match agent player, as you can see here, and two functions that override, which is how far the player moves, which is move to interactable, and interact object, which depends on what object you have, it does a specific task. The reason why I want to override move to interactable and interact is because different objects will want to be interacted differently. Example, I will want my player stopping distance to be 0 if it's interacting with an item, so he'll be right on top of the item. But for NPCs, I want him to stop in front of the NPC. So I'll show you an example how quick it is to make a interactable object in my class. Let's make a portal. So script portal. Okay, so my portal's right here. It's gonna inherit from interact object. I'm gonna delete the update because I'm not using the update function, and it's going to override interact, and it's going to override move to interactable because it's a portal. I want my player to stop right on the portal, give it that nice effect. Public variable player. This is just an example, it's not the end product. But and start, I'm just gonna set a player to find game object of type player. When I start to add networking, I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna get the player by ID while he interacts with the object, not on start. The player already has a function already made before I made the video. Teleport spot. Move to interactable. And I'm now going to put the script onto my cube already put on the scene. It has a tag portal. I'm going to save the script. As a spawn spot here. Spawn spot there. This can be private. I just had it public because I wanted to see an inspector before. I'll save it. Simple as that. So now this portal is an interactable object, and I can run whatever functions I want on it. Thank you. And so in my player, we have two compositions: player movements and camera controller, which I run the player movements, and then I run the camera controller after in the fix update. Both have constructors, which is just for this constructor, I just made it like something you run and start. Get the non-match agent of my player and set it. And I run this move player function in the fix update part. For my own purposes, I made different tags, but you can make the same tag. And I just get the object script, interactable object, because I remember before I told you guys that I inherit from interactable object for all my classes. And I run the function move to interactable, and if it's doesn't hit a tag, it just hits a spot. It just goes to the raycast spot. For my camera controllers, I just get the main camera. I set the target to my player on awake. The reason I got the main camera because when I was making networking on using Unity's networking, this way we got different versions for each player, so I stick with it, and I pretty much just make an offset from the target's position, and then I just make the camera look at the player. Basic code, and this is some player moves. Thank you. So my player and monster class inherits from an intermediate subclass entity, which inherits from a base class interactable object. So I have a visual for you guys. So this base class would be my interactable object, and the intermediate class B would be my entity, and derived class would be my player or monster. So my player and monster both have combat stats, which is depending on what gears they use. So, which will give the players gears on minimum maximum damage, and then they have something that's like unique to them. Some stats are unique to them, characteristics like the ID, their name, life. And in my class, in the entity class, you get to calculate EXP gain, which is dependent on different factors. How much life is left or damage. Level differences. So if a monster's stronger, you get more EXP. It's weaker, you get less. And every time you do damage, you get EXP. That's how I have my game running. Calculate physical damage, which is damage depending on player's minimum and maximum damage. I want it that way, so like in a real battle, you don't do same damage all the time. I want it to be like how strong you are, and your weakest punch and your strongest punch, and then I get a random number between the weakest and weakest random combat stats. Right here, get a random number from between those numbers, and then I get level differences. So if monster is higher level, you can do less damage. If it's lower level, you can do more damage. And I put received damage. It takes the parameter of damage, and I check if the object is alive. If it is, do damage depending on the current life or damage. And if the damage is equal to damage, this player is still alive, so just take off some health from the player or entity, and then I check if current life is 0. Else, if current life is 0, I'm just gonna drop some loot, disable the mesh collider, and disable the object's renderer. And then I'm gonna set all the Trojans to not active. And if the player, this is just for now, I'm gonna change it up. If a player dies, I'm just gonna set a new spawn position and then they reset all their stats. So you can see the damage for yourself. Run. So the UI updates, and I have some printouts for you guys. So player damage is 120. The player level is 1, the enemy level is 3. And if you can see, each enemy has different name level colors. It's depending on level differences. If it's white, it's closer to your level. If it's red, it's a little bit higher. If it's black, it's way higher than your level. So you know which monsters you're attacking and so on. All my UI is updating. And you gain EXP as you can see here. Player takes damage when you're close to the enemy for so long. So for my loot table, I have an array of loot which has an item as drop chance and it has its getters. It doesn't have settings because I'm setting it inside the inspector, so I don't have to worry about that. I have loot currency, which has a min and max, and you get a random number, and then you drop it depending on the drop chance. So I pretty much roll a dice, which I have game logic, which I roll a dice from 0 to 99, and if the number that I generate is less than the chance, I'll add the loot to the drop item list. And for currencies, I just add the currency to drop currency. So I pretty much just populate the lists and the currency, and then I get the objects transform, and I go through each item and drop it depending on a random position, which is another logic script I made, given area. So it just drops in the little area around where the enemy dies. Simple script, very adjustable. I can drop how much different amount of loot I want. I can change the currency amount. I want random drop currency because like I want player to get different money. I don't want you getting the same money from the same monsters because I guess like certain people just like spam it and stuff. So let's look at it in the game. So you attack a monster and it drops. That's the currency. So the item didn't drop. Let's see if it drops this time. So all my monsters has this script. So yep, right here. Drop the sword. Drop the currency as you can see in the inspector. The money went in and the inventory item is not up yet.